off to see the faces when they first come out the nest. As you can see, the 6 fostered birds are doing well. If I hadn't have intervened, they'd have all died. Here they are, as you can see, having a bath. You can see there's not much water in there. I never put a lot in, especially when youngsters are out anyway. And I doubt if there's 1/4 of an inch in there. I don't know anyone that breeds from all the pairs of birds, especially not in a mixed collection, because it's your submissive birds that usually suffer. But if you were fortunate enough to have a lot of space where you could give individual breeding pairs a good opportunity, then you can expect a better success rate. Then from your chicks for the following year, you should do even better. If you try and cut corners or don't give them what they need, then few if any birds will raise chicks. If you like a mixed collection of all sorts and have around 50 birds, this again will stop you breeding, and you'll have very little success but plenty of casualties. When your chicks are independent and the time comes to move them, make sure they're well capable of feeding themselves. Give them the good quality diet that the parents have given them, and perhaps cutting out the live food. Some species go into a molt even before they're independent of the parents, so I would not move these birds at this point. It's better to be safe than sorry. This is a young cock, which we've probably seen earlier. As you can see, it's already starting to display, and his cheek patches are just coming. When I'm videoing these birds, all you see is something in black and white. So it's nice when I can put this onto a big screen, and as you see in this case, see a close-up of the birds. As you get older and your eyesight's not so good, you can see a lot more from such as this. Here he is displaying again. What happens in a minute, his noise has attracted his dad, and he comes and chases him off. As you can see. Doesn't stop him, he's soon at it again. And this is his sister who he's trying to attract. Many of these chicks had to stay with their parents all summer, for 2 reasons really. One would have been that I'd have been disturbing nesting birds to catch them, and the other, I needed to build up my breeding stock, because what I tended to do is I used to hang on to my older birds which I could rely on, and let the youngsters go, and obviously eventually reach a stage where the birds are too old to breed. Another thing, I just didn't have the space to put them. I'd put quite a lot of birds down, and many of the birds did really well. The only time you would need to move chicks quickly is if the parents are aggressive and likely to attack them. Such species as Cuban finches are known for this. So put your chicks in a spacious enclosure. Don't mix them with other groups of older birds. This will only give them stress. Give them a good start in life. If spaces are to premium, then at some stage they can mix with some other chicks. But you need to keep an eye on just to make sure that none of the birds are getting upset and not getting persecuted. I wouldn't move the birds from a large area into a small cage either. Give them something spacious which that can stretch their wings. If space is unavailable, let the chicks stay where they are. If they're not being bullied or anything, then you've nothing really to worry about. If your only option to acquire birds is a dealer, then I would choose your dealer with a good name. Some are known to keep the birds on very high temperatures and dosed up on antibiotics. So if you get the birds on when your temperature is low, this will not help the birds, and their immune system will be damaged, as they'll have no good gut bacteria to fight any infections. These infections are often in your own bird room, and your own birds are probably immune to it. I would give them a probiotic or some form of stress reducer. I don't know much about additives or treating ill birds, and unless you've got an aviary and vet, you're not going to get a lot of luck in that area either. Most vets realise when you take it that it is a bird and it's not a cat or a dog, so that's one advantage. There are companies which produce additives, but they're continually calling each other's products useless, so it's difficult to have faith in these companies. Several of my friends have had success in breeding these birds. Although I used the colony system, a pair which were mixed in a group of other waxbills last year didn't even gut a nest. Yet this year that pair has successfully raised 6 chicks since I put them into my colony. I don't know which way is best to breed them, whether it's in cages, in small groups or single pairs, or in a mixture. Probably the colony is the easiest option, but from results I know some of my friends have done better with different types of breeding. They are willing breeders, they make good parents, they're easily disturbed and usually leave the nest if you approach them. Incubation is similar to other waxbills, as is the brooding period. However, chicks stay in the nest until 20 to 24 days old, which is unusual for waxbills. They are well developed when they fledge. Within 24 hours they're accomplished flyers, and they will be landing on bunches of seeding grass, or such as this millet sprays if they're available. They'll soon be feeding themselves, and the parents will continue to feed them until they're independent. They'll use nest boxes or baskets, or they'll self-construct their own nesting cover. Some have cock's nests. Some even build a cock's nest on top of a nest basket. Nest will be any height from the floor up to the highest point. The chicks are usually independent before the birds start to build a new nest, though Obviously this is dependent on individuals, but I've noticed that in my birds. I don't know if the chicks return to the nest after fledging. Most of my nests have been hidden in cover, so and I don't go looking at them as it's getting close to dusk. I did have one nest which I could observe, but I didn't see them go back into it. There's several species what build what's called a cock's nest. There have been several theories as to what its use is, such as a deterrent to snakes or other predators. This might be true, as the cock's nest has a larger opening. The main egg chamber usually has a tunnel with a smaller opening facing downwards, which might be a bit more difficult for predators to locate. So I wouldn't imagine it'd stop a determined snake. I don't know the true reason, though I have seen both cocks and hens sit in this nest and chase away other birds that get too close. Another thing I've noticed is hens play just as big a part in building this nest, even add it to it well after the eggs are being incubated. The bird not brooding is usually working on the cock's nest. Although some people only report that it has a small platform, I wonder if this is due to there not being much nesting material available, as most cock's nests I've seen have been quite large. They are quite attractive birds, these black crown. This is one of the youngsters from the first clutch. I've noticed in my birds they seem to be feather pluckers. I don't know if it's just the birds that I've got or if it's a trait of, as you can see from some of them there. It just spoils the beauty of them. You can see from these two chicks nearest to us just how nice they are. Here are some of the chicks from the latest clutch that's just come out. Again, it's another clutch of 6. And this is from the pair of birds that did nothing last year when they were on their own as a breeding pair. Well, within a mixed collection. This is the nest that they've come out of. You can see the cock's nest above. You can see the tunnel in the main chamber, which I'm going to open up in a minute. That's the cock's nest there, that hole there. This is the main nest chamber. As you can see, there's all the mess that they made, and if you can see that, you know that the chicks are in there doing okay usually. And there's a fine specimen from the earlier clutch. This is a young black crown waxbill displaying. Little firefinch there that's getting in my way. He's singing his few notes over and over again to try and attract his mate. All the birds seem to love to be picking about on these millet sprays. It's coming to the end of the seeding grass as well. I've done this, and this is what I use to replace them. It's a good substitute. Black crowns, they are very acrobatic, very interesting little birds to watch. They are reasonably hardy, not as delicate as some of the species. Just see they've pulled the top off all that seeding grass there. They've completely stripped it bare, and there's no more in the fields now. It's been harvested and it's all gone, so their only option is the millet sprays. There is a lot of cover in this aviary, and often the chicks they were getting well hidden in this cover when they were calling the parents to feed them, so I missed a lot of it. Black ground waxbills are a species I've never attempted to foster because they've always been good parents and I've never had a need to. The orange cheeks are a species that I have fostered in the past. They can be unpredictable, they can be disturbed and leave the chicks, so sometimes I've resorted to fostering. They've been a real problem for me. Can't always get every pair to breed, in fact nowhere near. This is a lovely view of the black crown waxbill. I put more of these millet sprays out just after a clutch of chicks have fledged, because what tends to happen is the chicks will feed on them, but also the other birds in the aviary will gorge themselves on this, and it might be that you want them to feed on other seed or egg food or something like this. So once the chicks have reached independence, I cut it down again a bit until the next clutch comes out. I've got hours of them feeding on this. I never get fed up looking at it because it's a nice picture, and that green conifer in the background is so much better to look at. In a minute these little chicks are going to be fed. These are the last clutch that's come out. See from this pair of cordon blues how this young hen now, which you've seen previously, is now getting some blue down its side. This time the young cock's with its mother. As you can see, she's got even more blue. She's about 3 or 4 year old now. Blue down the side, a bit more on her chest area than the youngsters have. This is one of your commonest sights with your birds. This is a pair of gold breasts, hen nearest to us, cock to the right, the red eye stripe, always preening each other. Sometimes makes you wonder how they don't poke each other in the eye. Here again, some of the birds enjoying a bath. This will be filled up every day in summer. They often empty it because I only put a small amount in, and I might fill it up twice a day, but not anywhere near the evening. You don't want to be going in it late on. These are the fostered birds that we saw earlier. The two at the end with a black beak, they're the two youngsters of their own. As you can see, there's plenty of birds in there. They're now independent. And although this might seem a lot of space for one pair of birds, if you get quite a lot of chicks off them, then it's well worth the effort. This situation coming up, there's a young goldbreast sat in this nest. Just watch it in a minute. Yeah, see. This is a young blue cap from one of the earlier